What's up, everybody? It's your girl Tina from the Tina Carter Show, and I am so excited to have you all for the first episode of Nuance TV. I am so excited to be your host as well as one of the three producers for this show. So we're just going to get it started off. First, we're going to highlight our guests and panelists, show them some love. We got Mia Bible.
Hi, everybody.
We have Meigan Ojukwu.
Hello.
Ashley Santana, Barbara Tate Ward, Bruce Cunningham, Carvez Pickens, DeAndre Coleman, Kasia Steele, Rachel Mitchell, Ray Robertson, Rob Wood, Brittany V. Higgins, Talisha Noah, and Andre Walker. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. Today's special panelists are very special to this because they are actors, whether they're working actors or up-and-coming actors. They're here. We're going to recap some of 2020's craziness. As we all know, this has been a crazy year, full of ups and downs, including with the pandemic. So we're just going to jump right into it. Started with just a simple question. Where were you when you got the news that COVID had made it to the States? And I want to start this question with Bruce.
I forgot. I was probably at work. So, I work in healthcare facilities. So they were always talking about it. It was an ongoing conversation about the COVID and what to expect and, that type of deal. So I was probably at work.
All right. Rachel, where were you?
I was actually in rehearsal when I got the news. And when it kind of hit, the first thing that, kind of popped up in everyone's head was, wow, what's going to happen next? Like, what does this mean for my job? What does this mean for this production? What's the next step? And, the next step was, it had to come to an end. We weren't even a good 3 shows in and it's kaput.
For me personally, I actually was about to put on my very first play, Runaway Bride. We had found a venue. We had put tickets up on the MetroTix website. I was also working a part-time job at another place, and I lost both the same day within like an hour or two of each other. So it was a moment of uncertainty for me, but it was crazy. It was like, I'm unsure about what's going to happen. How about you, Barb? Where were you when you found out?
What's funny is I was at home and I remember a news segment where they were talking about this Asian woman when it visited her father who was sick or something like that. And then she brought it back to Chicago where she lived. And I wasn't alarmed for any reason at that point. It wasn't until later when it was like, oh my gosh, all these people are dying or all these people are sick, that it actually had an effect on me personally. But when I first heard it, I was like, okay, here we go, another fad. Okay, COVID, what is this going to be about? So, but I was at home watching the news when I heard about it.
Wow. How about you, Andre? Where were you?
Yeah, so I actually was at the airport on my way to one of my retreats. It felt like the movie, like The Day After Tomorrow, when they knew that storm was coming and everybody was kind of preparing, because we were on our way headed out to like this mansion retreat, 30 individuals. And it was just like the Airbnb host was calling saying, there's no more toilet paper, there's no more this and that. So you all just have to it's like kind of survival mode. So it was a real weird situation. But yeah, I was heading out of town. And it felt like we were going on lockdown. So,
wow. So, Talisha, I want to ask you, how was it for you? Because you're in California, correct? How did it look out there?
Well, I had just started a job. We had orientation. And then the next day, the manager emailed everybody and said that the governor shut down all facilities that we're going to have groupings greater than 2,000 people. So, yeah, I literally worked one day.
Wow.
And
Wow.
yeah, the theater shut down, and I did a lot of temp work that was closing up, which I mean, for good reason. We don't need just random people coming in on temp assignments. And what else was I doing? Oh, extra work, all of that stuff. Everything just shut down. So it turned into a the grocery stores, like we all went to the grocery store and the lines were ridiculous. I mean, I guess that was the same in all the cities and stuff, but as far as like performing and the studios, everything just like flat out shut down.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that leads me to Mia Bible, who's also a producer of this wonderful program. You were shooting a movie in the middle of this pandemic. So how did that affect you and the process of the production of Honorable?
Oh, wow. So when we first got the news that COVID had made it to the States, and there was like the self quarantine was coming, it was heading our way. I was actually really debating on whether or not to completely push the film to 2021, because originally the film weekend was supposed to be in like April of this
Wow.
year, and I think we went on shutdown in St. Louis in like the end of March or something like that. And so I was really debating on whether or not just shutting down Honorable for the whole year, or to move forward in some kind of capacity, because we were in pre-production. And so I had reached out to one of my instructors. I was in class during this time. I was going through Continuity's program, and I was just like, yo, not only am I considering shutting down the program, this also affected like my money as well. So I'm like, the money that I thought I had to put in for the production, that was no longer there, because I had to help family members that,
Wow.
you know, their job had stopped. And so that's when she was like, you should do a crowdfunding campaign, because you don't want to assume that everybody's financial situation is the same in this pandemic. Everybody didn't lose everything. Some people
Right.
came up.
Yeah.
And so I kind of went out on a limb with that. And I'm happy that I chose to safely proceed, instead of just putting it off for another year.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So that kind of pulls me into kind of my next question. How has this quarantine life affected you all as an actor? And I do want to start that one with Ashley.
So initially, speaking from the perspective of an actor in COVID, initially things came to a screeching halt. And then there was I guess a period from like March to about mid-April, there was nothing. And then all of a sudden things started to pick back up. I'm also signed with an agency in Chicago. And at one point between May and July, I was having like 3 to 4 video auditions, self-tape auditions a week. It just exploded out of nowhere. So that was pretty interesting and unexpected. The jobs here kind of slowed down, but then there was a certain point where it kind of picked back up a little bit. So in general, I haven't been too negatively affected by COVID and the shutdowns and everything, just briefly, and then it was kind of a normal flow.
Okay, that's dope. How about you, DeAndre?
I guess for me, I felt like the college students that was just starting college this year, because last year I was just getting my feet wet with
Yeah.
doing acting and everything. So when COVID hit, like Ashley said, everything just came to a screeching halt and complete stop. You know what I mean? And I ain't want to risk my health. So I just kind of fell back completely on auditioning. You know what I mean? And just kind of scoped the scene out to see what was going on. Things kind of picked up back for me in about August, and that's when I did maybe like one audition, but it worked out for me. I got to be a part of a comedy sketch team. You know what I
Oh,
mean? We was filming, but somebody actually had COVID, so that put us to a stop. You know, again, you know what I mean? So you gotta be real careful nowadays, till they get everything situated.
Okay. So, Carvaz, with you being out in Las Vegas, I know we kind of talked about it on a side note, but could you just tell us kind of again how that was for the Las Vegas area?
Well, to be honest with you, when when COVID hit, I wasn't in Las Vegas. I was
Okay.
on a 12-week contract. I was doing I was doing a show for West Coast back in Florida. I was in Florida actually when I got the news about COVID, and it affected me and the production company a lot. First and foremost, we was only 5 weeks into the 12-week contract that we had signed. So we was just going to fill the show. Everything was getting great. And then to be told, hey, we have to stop everything and see how we're going to move forward. So we went on a week hiatus of not doing anything. And then things started to get worse. But to be honest, it was kind of confusing because things was getting worse around us with every other state. But if you all was watching the news, Florida was acting like wasn't nothing going on. Folks were still at the beach, kicking it. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I was one of the people too. I was still going to the beach like, okay, I got a little vacation. I ain't got to do much. So we going to the beach. We had birthday parties. We still kicking it. Yeah. And then that's when you know we all get called back to the theater. And they said, okay, one more show. We're going to stream it and we're going to sell it. And you all got to go home because now we are on an order of how many people can actually be close to one another. So that means that we could not put nobody in the seats, but what they did for our last streaming show, they gave away tickets to people in the city, spaced everybody out, and we streamed our last show. But the only blessing about that is they did give us the remainder of our money. Thank God. So we did do that. But the only upset part for me, this didn't happen to nobody else, but because I was flying from Sarasota back to Vegas, it took me 2 days to get home. Wow. Every flight was canceled. I kept getting emails. I was stranded in Chicago for overnight. And when COVID hit, Chicago was one of the big rural areas with COVID. So I couldn't even go over a friend's house, even stay the night. I stayed in the airport, but then one of my friends said, you can come, but just stay away from me. Because I don't know what's going on because you was just in Florida where y'all was kicking it. So it was a lot, but I got to say that it taught me so much in that whole experience. And then to finally get home to Vegas, I don't want to put this on my partner, but they wasn't diagnosed with COVID, but had every COVID symptom. So I went from a state where I was kicking it, not realizing how severe this virus was, to come home and actually witness somebody going through everything, and I have to try to take care of them. Like trying to stay distance, clean the house up constantly, give vitamin C, give vitamin D, orange juice, try to eat, cook. And I just have to say that I am blessed because I have not tested positive. I've been around people who have been positive. And I want to put this out there. I'm a slight conspiracy theorist, but I will say that if what I read was true, meaning if your blood type is O positive, you okay? Well, if that's true, then my blood type is O positive, and I've been blessed because I've been around people who have had it, and I haven't contacted it at all.
What's funny is that you're not the only person I've heard say that. I don't know about anything related to it, but you're not the first person that has brought up like blood type and specifically said O positive. Yeah. But that's interesting.
That's very interesting. Also, I want to ask before we move on, Kasia, like where were you and did it affect you at all as an actor?
You know what? As an actor, no. And I'll say this: when Hollywood stopped, things coming out of Chicago stopped too. So, but like Ashley pointed out, things started picking back up around June, and then Hollywood, even the Southeast, they have been changing to self-tapes. Self-tape auditions. They're moving to Zoom auditions. So they were kind of ahead of the curve. So a lot of what we were doing as actors and submitting for auditions really hadn't changed. If anything, they just started really relying on that instead of in-room auditions, in which they've been doing historically. But as far as like other jobs that I held, those have stopped. One job that my 9 to 5, I'm blessed to work from home. But as far as like the catering market, it just completely shut down. So
But yeah, from the acting standpoint, I just think, you know, maybe this may be a blessing in disguise that we have this technology to use. And it's just allowing so many more opportunities for actors such as us to actually submit more, you know,
Right.
for coming up.
And I think
do want to give.
Who was that? You go ahead.
I just want to say I do want to give props to Mia, because in this crisis, I did reach out to her, and she gave me some information on grants and things of that nature that could help me, because my finances was not together. I gave up on 9-to-5s, and I was trying to push this craft. And she did send me over some information to where I was able to apply for a couple of grants, and I was blessed with one. So I do have to thank you for that, because that most definitely did help me out tremendously. So.
Oh, no problem. I'm just happy that it helped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people trying to pull resources together. And Mia was, I have to also say, she sent this information over to me as well. It was a lot of people that really benefited from it, because if you were an actor and you were full time, that means you were completely out of work. Some actors were working, getting so much work that they didn't really have to do the 9-to-5 anymore. So their work was shut down. So those different grants and different things and that information being passed along really helped a lot of people. Which also I want to kind of move in this direction a little bit. A lot of people were suffering kind of in their mental health. A lot of people started really suffering from depression and loneliness and uncertainty. So 2020 kind of was really a big rise in people saying, okay, I need to go to therapy, or I need to see a counselor, or I need to talk these different things out. So, Ray, did you at all know anybody who went to therapy in 2020 specifically, or did you go to therapy? Like, could you give me a little insight on that?
Dang, I get the therapy question, huh? What you trying to say? No,
No,
I did start therapy. Okay, I did.
Okay.
It's out there.
I
No,
know
listen,
that.
listen. No, honestly, one of the amazing things, and I can, especially for our people, since we're put at such different stresses at such a young age with society and all these things, it's important for everybody, especially people of color, to do therapy, because there is a lot of things that we carry on our shoulders. I met an amazing woman, and she told me, like, hey, you got a lot going on. You should probably see a therapist, just so you can be focused. And I think what we do now is all about breaking generational curses and just not getting caught in the same traps we've seen people around us get caught in. So I've been seeing a therapist, and it's been really cool. Like, nothing has to be wrong with you to see a therapist. Right. Just like nothing has to be wrong with you to get a physical therapist, to get in shape or go to the gym, anything like that. You just want to make sure you're the best version of you. So no, it's been an amazing journey in learning what direction you want to take and grow. And it's really cool. It's not a crazy people thing. It really is just a self-awareness thing, you know?
Right.
Because when we're talking to somebody who's a professional and you just tell them a little bit about your upbringing, and they point out, like, you know what, you are really confident in this, but this issue probably is why you're not confident in that. And you go, oh, wow. It really helps you readjust and make changes. So yeah, it's been really cool doing that.
I agree. So Brittany, what do you feel about the whole rise of the awareness of therapy and people seeking help? How do you feel about that?
I feel as though it's a wonderful thing. I considered it for myself. Knowing that I started off the year affected by COVID, I believe I had it. Starting off in January, and I had to end up leaving my job, my 9-to-5, because of it. And then by the time the quarantine process came around, I was in Chicago for a funeral, and we came home from, being with family in Chicago, coming back home to St. Louis and be in the house for 2 months. And when I say God has sustained me all year long, because I didn't have any job, I couldn't really work because I was just now getting my physical ability back.
Right.
If you suffered any kind of COVID symptoms, it is going to rock you from head to toe. And that's exactly how I felt. Like, I almost died, like just completely giving up. And just knowing that now people have to deal with themselves in a confined space. You're in quarantine with the people you love, or whether you're single and live alone, you got to spend time with you. And it's revealed a lot of issues. People can't be by themselves. People don't know how to process their emotions, especially going through this pandemic. So a lot of people has uncovered they had some issues, whether it was just them or family issues. You dealing with grandpa's demons, your demons, somebody else's demons, your sister's demons. And people now have to realize, maybe I do need to talk to a healthcare professional, because I got some things that need to be sorted out. And this pandemic is only bringing it all to light. So a lot of people have dealt with that. I've dealt with that. And I was looking for someone to talk to. My job offered it. It was a free option, but learning that was like, yeah, I probably need to talk to someone. I think a lot of people have come to that same conclusion.
That it's okay to like talk it out. And that's why, like, also, I know I have teachers in here. I know for sure Barbara and Rachel, you all deal with kids. So feel free to answer as you may. Have you trying to lead these students virtually during this pandemic? Like, how has that affected your mind? And where are you guys at?
I think that one of the phrases that I've been like chanting over the past couple of months is, and being able to be okay with saying is that I'm not okay. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not okay. But for my students, I also give them the liberty to say that too, because I don't think that people understand that children are little people. Yeah. And so, you know, just like we go through things, we have emotional things, we have energy that's bad around us, and we want people to understand that about us and allow us bad days. When it comes to these children, people are like, get it together. You can't act like that in class. What do you mean? They're little people. They're experiencing loneliness. They used to get 3 meals a day. Now they may be getting 1, you know, and part of what I've been experiencing is really just allowing them to tell me how they feel and not letting the whole session be about learning about geometry or math or whatever it is, but allowing them a space to say, you know what, yesterday was not good. Yeah. You know, and so, and allowing them that freedom, because they don't always have the space to do that. Even with their moms, even with their sisters and brothers, they don't feel comfortable sharing, I'm not okay. Yeah. Whether it's because they don't know how, or they're uncomfortable because they don't know how people are going to respond. And so it's just been really good for me to allow children the opportunity to say, I'm not okay, Ms. Tay Ward, and I don't know why. Right. You know what I mean? So that's been dope.
And that's good that you were able to be kind of in the headspace to say yourself, hey, I'm not okay. And let my students know, hey, you might not be okay right now, but it's going to get better. DeAndre, like, do you have any insight at all about therapy in 2020?
I gotta agree with Ray. I find it funny because I went to therapy the first time this year too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
How was that experience for you?
That's what's up. Look, so I thought about going to therapy last year because, you know, I'm gonna keep it a buck. I still had some anger issues towards my father, and when I realized it was still getting to me, I was like, yeah, I need to talk to somebody. And then my girlfriend, she really encouraged me to seek therapy too. You know what I mean? I like to tell people she was my first therapist, but you know, but nah. And then my job was offering it too. So when my job was offering for, you know, with the health insurance, I was on it. So you definitely search for one. Like, I don't know if it's how it is for everybody, but my first therapist, it didn't quite work out. But the second therapist was better. You know what I mean? So I just say for me, it's just good to get it off my chest. You know? That part felt good. You know what I mean? But I still got to stay consistent with it. You know, I ain't been in the last session or 2, so I got to get back on it. You know, that's on me. But for anybody doing therapy that's new to it, just stay consistent with it. You know, but nah, for the most part, it's good though. I like it.
Respect.
That's dope. Yeah. That's dope. And it's okay to not want to stick with your first therapist. It's good to find somebody that you can really talk to and unpack these things with that you trust and want to build with as far as that goes. So I commend you on that, Brother Dre.
Hey, no disrespect, but my first therapist, boy, he tried to pull me to Jesus so bad. He broke the Bible out and everything. I was like, bro, I don't think, you know what I mean?
Yeah, nah, you gotta be comfortable with your therapist. You know what I'm saying? I've had therapists in the past, and I'm like, it just don't work out. Like, we never did build that rapport where we had a relationship. Like, when you have a therapist, that's a relationship that you're building, so you can be vulnerable with this person, so you can be brutally 100% honest with them, so they can pull things out of you that you have seen and you know about it a little bit, and you're like, I can't fix it myself. So in order for them to work with you, you have to be 100% open and honest, and it has to be with the right person. And it is okay to switch and find someone else that fits you.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't end up.
That's why the tissue was next to my chair. You heard me?
First session, you be broke down. Like when they get to saying, let's go back to your childhood. It's like,
Hey.
Come on, the waterworks.
And don't be afraid to bring questions. I know for me, when I started therapy a couple of years ago, I didn't know I could do that. Like, I didn't know that I could have questions prepared for a therapist. I was just thinking like, all right, I'm gonna read this little bio they have online, or I'm gonna just go off this recommendation. But if you are starting, like, give yourself permission to be assertive in that way, to ask them, to find out about their qualifications, and just to see how your conversation is with them as well. Don't think you just have to, like you said, stick with who you have, but that you can't interview them low key.
Yeah.
Right.
And if therapy is something that people are seeking and don't really feel comfortable doing it, I suggest that you do some meditating. I didn't do therapy this year, but I did start to meditate more than ever. And the reason why is because when COVID hit, for some reason, I started to experience a lot of anxiety attacks, panic attacks. I had chest pains. So with that being said, in the middle of COVID, while people staying at home quarantining, I'm so concerned about my health. I'm going back and forth to the doctor, to the heart specialist. I'm thinking I'm having heart attacks. I'm trying to make sure I don't have a heart condition. And folks are asking me, why are you going so much? I'm like, because I'm scared. Y'all don't understand my pain and what I'm feeling. Like, I've never experienced this before, but turned out that it was just really severe anxiety attacks and panic attacks, and I couldn't breathe. So I'm like, do I have COVID? Do I don't have COVID? What's going on? Well, I'm feeling like this. All my tests came back to be negative for everything, but the only problem was I found out that I was having anxiety and panic attacks. So now your boy walking around with a halo. I got pills. They even told me I don't even breathe properly when I'm asleep. So yeah, I'm like an old man when I'm asleep now. I got the whole machine pap, the pad where you got to put it around your mask. I sleep with that on and a little visor. I said, oh Lord, I feel like I'm 80. But I'm here. But I'm here. But I do recommend meditating because that has helped me throughout everything that I have experienced this year to know how to center myself, stay calm, don't overreact, because I do that a lot and take things personal. And if you're meditating, it's going to remove all the fears and notions of things that you are experiencing.
Right. And I think too, 2020 has kind of exposed a lot of different things that maybe we didn't know we needed, or that we didn't know we needed to pay attention to. And one of those things I really kind of want to go into is kind of the Black Lives Matter movement. Everything that was kind of shedded upon it. This is things that have been going on forever, right? It's been police brutality. It's been discrimination against people of color, African Americans, Black people. But it seemed like in 2020, it was like an explosion, and people were like, you know what, we're fed up, we're over this. So I kind of want to just flow into that. How did you feel about the George Floyd and Breonna Taylor cases? Talisha, just to start off, and then after that, anybody else can chime in. How did you feel? Were you angry, or did you feel like it was time for this to be exposed and light to be shed on it?
felt like here we go again, actually. Because people keep talking about, it's recorded, we see him doing it. We've been recording, we've been seeing him do it for, years. It's just so many people felt helpless. But I can say one thing that I've heard people say, like, it's not our responsibility. Like, we as a culture, we can fight it, but we can't change it because we didn't create it. And I think what was different about these two last experiences, or these many last experiences, is because it wasn't just us. It wasn't just Black people out there on the fight. We had allies, we had other cultures that were out there fighting with us as well, because it's going to have to be demolished from the inside out. We're trying from the outside in, and I don't think that's going to be ultimately what brings it down. It's shedding a light on it, of course, but I think it's only going to be demolished from the inside out.
Wow, that's good. Anybody else?
I mean, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ray. You good?
Yeah. I mean, that movement, it's been around for years, even back when Big Mike was killed, and the fact that it took years and more victims for people to be like, oh, okay, this that has some merit to it. It's being Black is like being in a horror movie where you're the only one that knows the monsters around, and I'm glad the movement has finally gotten more support, like she said, from other people and other cultures. I mean, seeing marches in Europe about it, that's when I was like, oh, okay, this is really taking off, but people have been fed up. And I think the more it's been documented, the more people are realizing that this is not just a thing that we're exaggerating, especially when you watch a man choke to death for over 5-7 minutes. It's like, come on, y'all. So I think it is a fed up, and it does take people getting angry, and it takes people getting really, really uncomfortable to the point where they're like, okay, if we don't do something about this now, then it's going to just boil over to something way, way worse than it needs to be. So, yeah.
Yeah. What were you going to say, DeAndre?
Oh, I was gonna say, as far as the George Floyd case, I follow Oscar Grant's mother on Facebook, and she predicted the charges before the charges even dropped on the news, based on what her son. You know what I mean? So
because they're not new. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You said it. She called it. It was gonna be a manslaughter charge. She called it. Breonna Taylor's, though, that one hurt a little bit more. I ain't gonna even stunt, because that was just blatantly wrong. And the fact that what they say, the wall got more charges than Breonna Taylor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was just sting a little bit more. You know what I mean? Because of the stuff they done in between the cases, as far as trying to get old boy jammed up and throwing dirt on her name, bringing up her exes. You know what I mean? All that stuff. So that one just pierced a little more. But what shocked me is the way that the media milked that whole Black Lives Matter for their benefit. I felt like the media really took advantage of the Black Lives Matter and really just tarnished the name even more. So the charges don't shock me. It's an unfortunate truth, because we've seen it happen too many times. I'm pro Malcolm X. You can't have a real revolution without bloodshed. That's my opinion. But it happens as usual, as always.
And Dre, when you say media, all media, do you think for like white media, Black media? But when you speak to media in general, who are you talking about?
When I say media, just we all have common sense. Those that we know are not using the news to inform us, but using it to manipulate us. They'll come in all colors and shapes. So I can't just label it to one race or media outlet. But I think everybody has enough common sense to know when I'm being informed and when I'm being manipulated.
So let me ask y'all something else. Do y'all see any real change being made? Like, just be completely honest, and anybody can go. Like, do you feel like we're making progress?
I see more opportunities arising. I mean, like, personally, I don't care if mofos out there like me. Just let me have my worth, let me have my opportunities, and just let me be able to take care of the people I love. You know what I'm saying? So I see things in the stock market, like companies having laws and making new rules where people of color or women need to be able to have a chair for the companies for it to be on the market, stuff like that. So there are new opportunities coming up there for it. But as far as like the attitude and, you know, people being genuine toward us and Black lives, that's going to be a long while. But right then, I don't need that. I need opportunity. I need to be safe and be able to take care of me and mine, you know?
It's funny that you bring up the word change, because from my understanding, I really feel like a lot of people of color, we are not really out here searching for change. We just want equality because we are so comfortable within ourselves. We don't want you to just pick us because of our color. We just want the same opportunities to where allow for who I am to showcase itself. If it's for me, let it be for me. Give me that chance. Don't deny me because I'm Black, because there are people of every race that may be more qualified than me, depending on what I'm going after. But what if I'm the one who is more qualified? Give that to me, because I'm willing to earn it. We don't mind earning things, and I think other races get that misconstrued. That's why some people say Black people can't be racist, but that's also because we never been put in the place or the position to be racist. We've always been the race that is always frowned upon, to where at this point we just the kid is like, mommy, look at me, I'm here too. I want that love too. Don't just give it all to them. So change is needed, but really we just want the opportunity for things to be like this across the board. Give us the opportunity to showcase ourselves in a way to where we can be chosen, and don't just deny us because of the color of our skin.
Mm-hmm. I would have to say that I don't know if the pandemic didn't happen and the quarantine didn't happen, I don't know if the conversation around defunding the police would be mainstream. I know that that's a conversation that's been going on, and I know there are people who've been doing that work prior to 2020. But for the conversation to be pushed to the forefront, I don't know if we weren't all in our homes, and if we weren't like forced to pay attention to what was going on in the world, if a real conversation about reallocating funds from the police would be happening, and if you would actually start to see different states like just start the process of possibly implementing it.
So Mia, just to quickly interject, so for people who don't understand what that means, defunding the police, can you give us a quick explanation of what that means for people who may not even know what that phrase means?
So my understanding of it is just simply reallocating funds from police departments to community services that help with either transportation, housing, food, social services, education. It is reallocating funds in the not just in the spirit, but it is reimagining what public safety really looks like, and going from it just being about policing, but actually saying that public safety is also about adequate education. It's also about removing food deserts. It's also about adequate transportation. Like those are the things that really reduce harm. And that's where we need to be putting our money towards.
Awesome. So does anybody else in here, have you ever heard of defund the police? What does defund the police mean to you personally?
I think it brings the opportunity for the communities to have a way of taking care of themselves. I mean, you look at the Black Panther Party back in the day, I mean, they're the ones who started the meals and all that for the community. I think we can get back to that. You know, police officers aren't necessarily needed for a situation where somebody who is mentally disturbed needs somebody who's a professional to talk to that mentally disturbed person. You know what I'm saying? I do think it would be great for some of the duties that men with guns show up. We don't need men with guns to show up to every situation. Sometimes we need healthcare professionals, relationship counselors, or therapists to show up to those situations. And I would love to see more of that. And that way, those guys, police officers actually can do more things in terms of just protecting people, serving people, giving kids rides to school, as opposed to just being involved in every situation that could potentially be hostile. So
let me ask you all this as well. What what is the outcome that you want to see from this? What is your hope for this whole situation? Like, what do you want to see?
I would love for us to actually make the training process for police officers a little more rigorous and time consuming. There are countries, and I think I try to do a little research on this. Germany training process is 2.5 to 4 years. Europe is 5 months, depending on the level that you're gonna walk into. It can be up to 8 months. Australia's is 6 months. You can actually become a police officer, and depending on the state, within 4 weeks. That's not enough time, if you ask me, because there is no stress test. There is no test about a person's mental capacity or none of that. So I kind of actually agree with the guy that just spoke, because sometimes we don't need nobody walking into a place with a gun who's already ready to use that gun because of his trauma that he has dealt with in his personal life. And he may have a trigger like, oh, this is my daddy, or this is the guy that hurt my father or hurt my mother. And his reaction to that experience can be totally different because he didn't have that rigorous training to even see how he would handle it. So I really hope that with all this is said and done, somebody needs to speak up to just make the training to become a police officer a little more rigorous, because, and actually, I wouldn't even mind if every officer don't even carry a gun, because sometimes I've never seen a officer reach for anything else. The first reaction is the gun, like you don't have a taser, or like you don't have the club. The gun is not the only thing on your belt that is there to protect you and others. So, and there are not other countries who don't even have police, who officers who don't even carry a gun. So to answer your question, hopefully we have a long, rigorous training and at least make it another 6 months so people would know how to handle themselves accordingly.
Okay.
Anybody
else?
I hope that they start defunding the police. Honestly, that's what I hope comes from. That's what I hope comes from the conversation. That I hope they start defunding the police, because like y'all been defunding the education system for like how long now? Like y'all can scale back when it comes to police and okay, hop in wherever you feel. But that's one of the things I want to happen. Start reallocating that money.
Yeah. Education prevents more crime than anything.
Well, and I
like literally. Go ahead, Ashley. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Ashley.
So the biggest thing for me is that we all know that when it all boils down to is a heart issue. Like you can change all of the conduct policies you want, but if someone is intent on disliking you and not valuing your humanity, that's what they're going to do. And so I just wonder if there's a way for, I don't know, like a psychological exam, because I want to know, for a person who doesn't look like the community that they're supposed to be serving and protecting or patrolling or whatever, if they don't look like the people in that community, they have no ties to that type of community, what is their interest in being in a position of authority over that community? Like, we need to get down to those kind of questions. If you are patrolling a majority Black area, low income, all of that, and you are in a position of power and authority over this community, but you don't look like them, you have no ties to their community, your close friends don't look like them, why do you want to be there? Why are you there? If you have no vested interest in that community, like those are the things that I want to find out about. And if there is a way for police officers to go through some type of evaluation to find out, where do you need to be placed? First of all, do you want to be a police officer to the general public, or do you only view certain people worth protecting? And to me, that's kind of the thing. Like, who do you, as a police officer, whose lives are worth protecting to you? If all lives are not worth protecting to you, then you don't be a police officer.
Yeah.
White lives. In this country, the police weren't here. They're not peacekeepers. They were slave catchers. I don't know what the history is in other countries, but in these United States, the police officers started off as slave catchers. And so when you see police brutality, like I wholeheartedly agree with Mia. I want to see it defunded because that was their only goal. So they're achieving exactly what they were here to do, you know? And to me, that means you gotta blow up the whole system, because the system we have is not going to work because it was created to do the thing that it's doing.
Exactly. And the thing about that is like, that's the DNA. Like you said, that's the DNA of the country. How do you change something on the level of DNA without changing the entire being? Like, you can't.
Throw it away.
I have a question.
I got a comment.
Okay, let me let Bruce go. Go ahead, Bruce.
Okay, if you all don't know, I used to be a police officer. I did it for 5 years. So I've been on both sides, African American, just, I grew up in, North St. Louis and moved to North County. So, and then later in life became a police officer. So the experience on both sides. I went through the training, the training for me was 6 months. Once you graduate from it, then you get on the street with a field trainer to train you how to actually work the street. That's like your hands-on training. It's like, don't bring what you learn in the academy out here. You go by what you're training, but when you hit the streets, it's different because it's not mock scenarios anymore. It's real scenarios, because once you drop off the lot, you might not make it home. Here in St. Louis, and I'm just speaking for St. Louis, you know how St. Louis can go. We got, on one end, we got racism and all that, and other on other end of the spectrum, we got crime, and then everything that's in between. And just based on my experience as a police officer, I know how I was raised, okay, and I know my walk of life. But then you got other police officers, you got white police officers, they have a different walk of life. We got the same uniform on, we got different walks of life. Some of them are racist. Some of them are not. And like Ashley said, when you in our community, you patrolling, how you view us is how you gonna treat us. And some were raised racist. The conversations in their homes were, black people ain't, blah, 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 ain't crap. I'm trying to watch my language on the thing. And so that's how you're gonna patrol. Unless you had a change of heart, that's how you're gonna patrol. I'm black, I was raised in the black community, and I love my people. So, but the same conscious decisions I have, other officers have. With the George Floyd situation, he had a conscious decision. He made a conscious decision to sit on a man's neck.
Wow.
Because I've taken people down, I've arrested people, and I put people in handcuffs. I've had fights. I've had that. At the same time, if I have you on the ground, I have you in cuffs, you ain't going nowhere. I don't have to sit on your neck, especially for 9 minutes. He made a conscious decision to do that. And partly because probably how he was raised, or, and the sad part about law enforcement is, given the history and given the heart, the hate is there. The hate is there. Defunding is not going to erase the hate. Because what you have is a hiring process. You hire people that are racist, but some of the people that are hiring are racist themselves. So it's like it's like, and then why do you have a lot of officers in black patrolling black communities? Where if you look at the departments, how many officers do they have white compared to black?
Mm-hmm.
I love a lot of the points that you made, Bruce, because it gives kind of an insight to kind of that other side, but kind of the ways at moments it seemed like maybe you were like conflicted. It was like, this is my job, but I am a black man.
It's conflicted because I can't. And so go ahead.
I have a question. So is there anyone that on this panel that thinks that defunding the police actually won't end police brutality? Does anyone think that's not a real solution to ending police brutality? You, Bruce, anybody else?
Or fast.
Yeah,
okay.
me.
Okay.
Because you're taking
But
away
can I
the
say
money.
why? It's not because it won't
on, wait a minute.
eliminate
Okay.
some of the mess, but it doesn't change the heart of the person. If you're a police officer and you're racist, me taking money away from you is only going to make you more racist, in my opinion.
Yes, yes,
And,
yes.
and not that we shouldn't be trying to take these rats out, but again, if we're saying that police in general, this system itself is built to destroy Black people, you have to destroy the whole system. Defunding it is not what's going to make it better. I want to see the whole system go away. Can we just take away the system? The
That
whole
was my
policing system.
Barbara. That was my
I'm just
question.
saying, if we're gonna do anything, can we switch the whole thing? Because taking away their money is not gonna make them a better police officer.
It's really not. It honestly, it's not. It's, to me, it's not gonna do anything but piss them off. You know, you defunding them, you're taking away from their salary. You know, what is that gonna make a person do when someone's not getting paid enough money? Their attitude is, well, I'm not going in today. I don't feel like doing that, or oh well, or they're gonna come in on BS because they feel like, well, I'm not getting paid enough to really care that much. I'm gonna let this happen. Or I woke up in a bad mood. I'm gonna start something with this person just because. I'm gonna make an example out of you today because I'm mad. Because y'all don't fought for, you know, defund the police, do this, do that. Now that they have, that's taken away from me and what I have. You know, like, not all police are bad. There are some good ones out here. There are. And there are some assholes.
Well,
but that's with anybody.
An integral part of defund the police is that you're reallocating them. So now that would involve getting rid of probably half of the police force. But with that, I feel like you're removing that power. And then you are building up your community. So particularly with the actual movement of defund the police and what it is, I'm here for it. Because it still involves blowing up the system. Like, we say it like this is a replacement, but it really is blowing it up in what should be in its place.
So my understanding, and I want to know who has the same understanding. My understanding of defund the police is that it's one of the first steps in abolishing the police. That in order to remove this system or blow it up, whatever terminology you want to use, you need to defund it. And so I want to know, does anyone else have that understanding, or they have a different understanding behind that message?
I got a different understanding. Now, see, I thought it started off as demilitarizing the police. Because, see, when I heard defund the police, I'm thinking like, you know, when they come with the military guns and the tanks and all that stuff that you see in war and whatnot. So I thought it was all about making sure they ain't got that type of artillery no more. But that phrase also popped off when the protests was jumping off and we was setting stuff on fire and whatnot. So I feel like defund the police, it's just a filibuster. It was just a filibuster phrase just to slow down the action that we had jumping off. You know what I mean? And me personally, at the end of the day, when it comes to the cops, police, whatever, 12, it's all about accountability. They don't hold the bad cops accountable, point blank.
Yeah.
Cops get mad at us because we enforce the no snitching rule and we won't snitch on the streets, but they won't even snitch on Darren Wilson. Quit playing. Like, you know, so until they start holding the bad cops accountable and actually locking them up for what they doing, as long as Breonna Taylor killers are still free, ain't no such thing as change happen yet.
Wow. Thank you, everybody who responded in this. I know it was a lot of different emotions and different things, but we just gonna kind of move on, kind of on a lighter note. COVID and the pandemic, for a lot of creatives, they had to find other avenues to get their work out. They had to find other ways to showcase their talent. So some people took to Instagram more, Facebook more, but TikTok became this huge thing, and YouTube got even bigger. Everybody you knew was creating YouTube pages. Everybody you knew was going to TikTok or creating some form to kind of keep their content out there. So do you think it was a rise in Black opportunities due to COVID? Were lights being shed on Black creatives more because of the pandemic than it would be if it wasn't?
I think so. I think it was an uncovering for a lot of Black creatives. Like, this is the year of the creatives in my eyes. Like, COVID has been a blessing as well as a curse to those who work in arts. Because people are at home looking at artists all day long on Netflix, on whatever movie streaming device they have, and they're relying so heavily on the arts, and yet people who are in the arts are suffering because of it. So they may not be getting paid for their performances. They may not get paid for the content that they put out, but they still are showing faith in the arts. But I think that COVID has really shed a light on what was already in the works. There was already Black directors, there was already Black artists, and now they're getting the proper stage and platform in order to use it to be seen, to be heard. And now the uncovering for the following has happened. And I think it's a pure renaissance right now for Black artists.
Awesome. So Kasia, let me ask you this question. Did COVID change the rules and remove the gatekeepers? What's your opinion on that?
You know what? Social media removed the gatekeepers. I don't think it was necessarily COVID. I think we used COVID as an opportunity to for more people to actually jump in and say, look, I can do this too. You have been seeing us as a people be so creative and create so many things and say yes to ourselves more, and just start submitting as much and just showcasing all of our talent from dancing to singing to, we're finding people daily that have this talent who wouldn't normally have been seen in Hollywood. So to answer your question, I think the gatekeepers, that was coming down anyway, YouTube and Instagram and all of that. But I just think now that we've had some time, again, it's been a blessing and a curse,
Yes.
But we have the time now to showcase what we're fully capable of. And now the world can see it.
Yeah.
So that the need to have somebody say yes to you in Hollywood, when I could have somebody 20 million views on YouTube and regular people have already said yes to me.
Right.
That's values.
That's awesome. So Andre, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree completely with Kasia. And knowing the shift that happened with me and my clients, for those that don't know, my background is in marketing also, and working with so many creatives, working with so many influencers. It took, I literally had to shift. I think it was a God thing. I left corporate America in January, not knowing what was next. And March came, COVID hit, and the amount of inboxes, DMs that I got from influencers and creatives saying, hey, I need to create a social media platform. I need to start marketing, and seeing that shift. I think, like Kay just said, social media just it levels the playing field for everyone. And so I'm so happy that so many people took advantage of it, especially for, our Black creators. And I'm super excited to see, where we go in the future.
Thanks, Andre. So real quick, Ray Robinson has to get out of here. I just want us all to say goodbye to him and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye, Ray. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Atlanta.
Peace and blessings, brother. Peace and blessings.
Appreciate y'all. No, this is a good talk. I appreciate y'all. I'm so glad that we're coming together, having dialogue, and we're all getting each other's perspective, that even through this whole pandemic that we're still coming together and just helping each other along the way. So it's beautiful. Thank y'all. Appreciate y'all.
Stay safe and stay uplifted.
Bless. Take it easy.
Awesome. So I do want to ask what was your favorite piece of content so far in this pandemic? What kind of really stuck with you, or just period this year? It doesn't have to be because it was a pandemic, but what really stuck out to you as far from our Black creators?
My daughter.
Lovecraft Country.
Try Jesus, not me.
Yes. What you say, DeAndre?
Try Jesus.
Oh, not me.
I hate that song.
Cause I throw hands. Shout out to him.
Yes.
That was the one for me, bro. Boy,
Yeah.
when I say I play that every Sunday before worship.
It feels like a spiritual, doesn't it? It's like you can
Hit you in
really
your
try
soul.
him, but don't try
Right.
me.
Yeah.
It is a spiritual.
Yeah,
It
for me,
is.
it was Toby. It was definitely Toby. For me, I knew nothing about him, nothing about his music. Try Jesus was the first song. Then Arrest the Killers for Breonna Taylor. But the one that did it for me, he got a song called Make It Home. That was it.
Yeah.
That. So
Yeah, it's an excellent song.
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of our Black actors and actresses in a different limelight. So I want to throw a little shout out to every Black artist and actor and actress that has gotten the opportunity to stand out. And because of all this that has been going on, even though these shows was prior made before all this, but it just seemed like it was a different light shine on them because of what's happening. So like I believe that was Mia, like she said, Lovecraft Country, and the lady who was on Ratchet. She did an amazing job too. And I feel so bad, but there's this other Black actress who lives in Atlanta as well. You see her in every single thing now, and her name is not spoken a lot. But yeah, shout out to all the Black actors and actresses who have been given the limelight.
Anybody else?
I'll say number one, my daughter.
Yeah.
Cause you know, I raised her, you know, from my daughter, and then she starts this YouTube channel, and she on there like, I'm like, what the, my angel. Now she creating content and trying to create a following, so I have to, she's not that big yet, but it's my daughter. And then my goddaughter, she had actually caught COVID, and she almost died. But then a couple days later, she still breathed like this, but she sent me a song. Hey, God, there, check out the song. And she killed, and I'm like, when did you do this? I spit something out doing the song. And I'm like, how did you do the song? Like, how you breathing like that? I just, I just had to get the song out. And I was just like, whoa. And it was just like, and I'm like, that was phenomenal. You can hardly breathe. You can hardly.
God put it in her for her to get it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She got it out there.
I'm gonna go lay down. So I have to give those two ladies, that was in the midst of what they were going through. That was like phenomenal. So
also, there's this podcast that I don't know if they started it in 2020. I think they may have, but it's called Here's the Thing with Kev on Stage and That Chick Angel.
Oh yeah.
It's a hilarious show. I discovered that in 2020. I love that content. It's so good, along with Lovecraft Country.
Kev on Stage has his own streaming channel now. Kev on Stage Studios.
Yeah,
so that just started.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm in love with me some Tabitha Brown. I love Tabitha Brown. I'm sorry. I just love her energy. It's so dope. And I don't know. I don't watch a lot of TV. I watch like reality shows, but I've been getting into this like Red Table Talk every now and again. Like every now and again, I watch a couple Red Table Talk episodes. And so that's been pretty cool. But Tabitha just be having my whole day right. So
it's her energy, isn't it, Bart? Yes. Like it's her energy. Like she is just a good vibes. Every time I see her, I just smile. For me personally, Lovely T. Y'all know I love Wendy Williams, so you do it. But I didn't really like the show set up during quarantine, so I started watching commentators on YouTube, and I found this lady's channel, Lovely T, and I promise she be knowing stuff before the shade room. I be like, how do you know that? But it's been dope to see her blow up. Like she had a couple 100,000 subscribers. Now she's like knocking on 1 million, and that's from this year. So I'm really happy to see her finally get the light shined on her. Andre, you were in a commercial this year?
Yeah, I got a chance throughout the pandemic to do some virtual auditions for a couple of commercials, so it was a blessing.
Is that nerve-wracking commercials? Or like
not as much anymore. It was at first. I'm not gonna say that. Yeah, it was at first, having like just that many people just kind of like focused on you, especially with one that hasn't released yet. Kind of me getting out of just my personality and my character a lot. But no, it was a great time.
I think it's a great thing too. But because kind of time, guys, we're just going to kind of move on to the kind of our final question for part 1, and then we're going to jump into part 2, definitely after our break. But I heard Mia mention earlier Lovecraft Country, and it made me kind of think about one of our other topics. Basically, how do you feel about non-Black Americans playing Black American roles, if you have an opinion about it at all? Some of those, excuse me, what's her name? Zoe Saldana, playing the Nina Simone biopic, the upcoming Fred Hampton biopic, even the movie Get Out, Daniel, help me with his last name.
I think it's like
Kaluuya.
Kaluuya, yeah.
Yeah. So does anybody have an opinion on that? DeAndre?
Okay. I mean, that's why you brought me on the show, right? I have mixed feelings about it as an actor. I think they should get a fair opportunity as everybody else, but at the same time, I think because they're not a foundational Black American, they can't really tap into that part. You know what I mean? Like somebody who's rooted with what's happened here. You know what I mean? I can't see nobody British playing the Malcolm X part but Denzel. You know what I mean? Just because I feel like he just, there are people who recorded those type of movies and they could feel the energy. You know what I mean? Versus somebody who's, they not quite connected to it, so they can't quite feel it. You know what I mean? So as an actor, I appreciate, I feel like they should get a fair opportunity. If they work for it, they should get it. But, at the same time, I feel like they can't really tap into that energy. And sometimes I feel like it just takes away, opportunities from other good Black actors that's out here. I found out old boy from All American was like not
He's British too.
yeah, he's British.
Too. Yeah.
Basically from How to Get Away with Murder. When I heard him talk for, I'm like, he Australian? What the, you know what I mean?
Oh, right. Yeah, West.
So,
yeah.
so I got mixed feelings about it. I respect it as an actor, but at the same time, it's like,
Okay, so
I think that's part of the actor's experience though, right? Because they research and learn about the characters. There are people who have never been drug addicts but play drug addicts, never been prostitutes but play prostitutes. I think that's part of what the craft is though.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
It's about how well you perform as an actor and what you can do. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like the
And
movie
would they really
Shot.
get
You know what I'm
cast if
saying? If
they
they would have
weren't-
bring that movie back around, who's to say that, if you're not Jamaican or something, you can't do it. If you're an actor, you should be able to put on an accent and get into character, and that should be it. It's just equal opportunity. It doesn't matter that they're not from America. They're still Black. They're still embodying a Black character.
And they also, these people go through struggles in their own countries. Like Black people, we struggle with stuff wherever we are. So they deal with their own versions of prejudice and racism in their countries, so it's kind of, same crap, different toilet, it's, I mean, it's still, we have a universal experience that we can all tap into.
Yeah, anti-Blackness is definitely global. I think for me, in particular, so Lovecraft Country, the episode where the Emmett Till episode, what everybody calls it.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, there was a disconnect because one, Emmett Till, like I said, that is his life and his death and the story around and his murder. And the story around that is something that is very unique to America, but then also Black Americans. Mm-hmm. And so when the lady that plays Ruby, I can't think of her name, who is a phenomenal actress. Yes. But when she was giving her monologue in that particular episode, there was some parts of it that fell flat. And I was asking myself, like, is it just because of the performance, or is it the directing, or is it also because there's a certain unique, or not even unique, there's just a very specific type of connection that you have when you're talking about stories that have happened here, people who have been murdered, killed here, and opposed to somewhere else. And kind of like that same conversation that came around when Daniel was playing Martin Luther King, and people were questioning, like, just having that disconnect. And there's so much of Blackness is our identity, granted, but there is so much of our story that's wrapped in, if you're a Black American, there are certain experiences that we will have here that you will not experience elsewhere. And when it comes to the story that's built around that, do you think anyone can just connect to that history? Anyone can connect to that story? Or do you feel like you kind of have to really be in it to really draw from it?
I think it helps.
I think you got to be in it.
Let me say this. Yeah, you made great points, and Bruce, you made great points, and Tia, you made great points, and Ashley, you made great points. So everybody's making really, really great points here, man. This is very interesting. I'll say this. Let's use this as an example. Bible. Okay. How many people do we really know from the Bible? You know, how many actors are? I'm gonna say, how many characters do we really know? Now, I know one guy for sure. But anyway, moving on. So I've seen so many biblical stories on television. I've seen it acted out, and I've seen it over and over out throughout years and years. So many different people played Jesus. So many people played Moses. So many different people played Judas, whoever. And I never said, oh man, he just don't seem like Judas to me, you know. So, but what they are, they're storytellers, and that's what we are as actors and actresses. We're storytellers. So if a white man plays Martin Luther King, you know, initially I'm like, he better bring it, you know. But if he's so in tune with the part that he can deliver it, I don't have a problem with it. Because my thing is, you have to, as actors, we have to be able to tell a story. And I know this not Martin Luther King. I'm not a fool, you know. But if he can deliver that, you know, and he's exercised his craft and he's honed in on his craft, and it's believable, I'm with it.
But as a director, I'm going for my act. I'm going to director mode. All right. Okay.
Tom Hanks is not going.
When I'm talking about casting, when I want to cast somebody, you know, I'll try to be as realistic as possible. If I'm, you know, Martin Luther King. Now I know this white man
fair.
Bring it
realistic and fair, though. And fair.
Hold on, wait. Let's let Bruce go. Go ahead, Bruce.
Just to be fair, because he was historically, we got to get the facts right, because I don't watch a lot of biblical stories. I don't care if my church is doing it or not, because the depictions of the character were not white folk. I don't watch it because you have a lot of Black actors out here looking for work, and then you make these movies with historically Black people and you cast white people to play the roles. That's very unfair. And so as a director, I'm not doing it. I don't support that, and I'm not doing it as a director. So if I'm doing biopics and this person was Black, I'm looking for a Black actor or actress. That's, you know, be realistic as possible, especially if we telling our stories, you know. And so that's one of the things about Hollywood that I just dislike, because, you know, that unfair treatment. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm just gonna agree with you, not wholeheartedly, 100%. There are times when I feel like you need to be able to relate to your character, and we need to see that visually as an audience. And then there are times when, especially if you're a made-up character and you're just supposed to be Black, I don't care if you talk like this and you shed tea on Sundays. I don't care. Nina Simone and Zoe Saldana, that was a problem for me. As a dark-skinned actress, that was a whole problem for me. The fact that you had to come paint somebody's face, and at that point in her career, she did not identify as a Black woman. I think she called herself Afro Latino or something like that. Like, she didn't start identifying as an African American or a Black person until recently. So at that point, that was very tone deaf. it took an opportunity from so many people who could have represented and done the role, no problem. And honestly, they could have been British. But Nina Simone's story is my skin is black. You don't like the way I look. I don't fit into your cookie cutter of what a beautiful woman is, and you're gonna get this. And then they had Zoe Saldana do it. That was a problem.
Yeah.
Agree with that.
And then the blackface. It's like, okay, even if she was the best actor and did it, they didn't have to color her face, but they did it because, like Meigan said, a lot of her, I forgot the word, but her platform, I guess, for lack of a better word, is I am dark, I am beautiful. So they felt like they had to do it because that was part of her identity. So that should have told them, duh, maybe we shouldn't have cast this character.
That was
so. Okay, I'll take your point, Bruce,
What,
and then we're
Bruce?
gonna get ready to move on.
You should have. I'm sure we can come up with a whole lot of dark-skinned black actresses who are phenomenal who could have done the role.
Mm-hmm.
Who could have done the role? That
Viola Davis.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But age-wise, Viola didn't work.
Okay, but there's a lot. Ashley could have done it.
Hey, Tika,
Let me ask y'all this.
Going
off enough. I'm sorry, but I'm sorry you weren't hard enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm on a soapbox.
And let me ask this real quick. How come black actors don't get those same opportunity with British movies either?
That's a good question.
Do we know that they don't?
Well,
Do we know that they don't?
I just got submitted for a British role.
Yeah, but I heard
I was going to ask, do we know that they don't? Are we really on their side?
I mean, the conversation with a lot of, I would say, known black actors is that they don't. The conversation that I'm paying attention to, the conversation that I'm hearing, and not that I'm only listening to one side, but that it's not an equal opportunity across.
Yeah, because Netflix got hella British shows. I ain't seen no black actor on there. They all from the UK.
Like
I have seen one British actor. He's very popular. He's done TV shows, movies, and even Christian films. So he's very popular. Like you may recognize him from 300. I think it's the second one. Big black guy. Yeah. He was in the first one too. But he also played Samson. There was a Bible series that came on, and he played Samson. So I think they do have opportunities, but I think it's just as like pressuring here as it is there. And to go back to Zoe Saldana, she made a statement apologizing for playing that role, and she said that at the time she didn't really take in consideration what that meant for her and her audience, and for the people that follow her, for her to do and perform blackface. The casting directors should have known better. I think a lot of casting directors that you assume are mostly white are looking for a certain aesthetic. Like you still can play this character, but you got to be pretty to look at it at the same time. You can't be Celie on this production. We need you to look like a Beyonce, but then play someone who's ugly. So they want to downplay the whole beauty card just to make sure that the actress they choose or the actor they choose is also appealing to the audience also.
Oh,
But
and
that's
that one,
That's
hold on
not
really
realistic.
quickly. That one actress, I can't think of her name, but the Self-Made show with Octavia Spencer and the woman that played Annie Malone, she is a light-skinned British actor. And I had a lot of problems with that series, Self-Made, particularly how they chose to portray Annie Malone. To me, it was very disrespectful to her legacy and unnecessary, because you actually did not need to pit Annie Malone against Madam C.J. Walker. You actually didn't need to do that to tell a phenomenal story. And so to me, that was a part that was just completely unnecessary. But the fact that they hired, into my research, Annie Malone, one, she was not light skinned, but then two, she also wasn't British. And I think that, to me, that also kind of represents a disconnect when you're talking about the story of, I'll say, real life people, even if you want to just scratch out fictional, but real life people. I think there should be more accountability when it comes to emphasizing that connection and being intentional is really what I want to say. Is being intentional to cast people that have strong similarities to the real people that they are portraying, not just about the looks or the sound or anything like that, but the experience and the storyline of that character, especially when they're real people. But okay, we do have to wrap though.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you. That concludes part 1 of Nuance TV. Thank you for checking us out. Please stay tuned for part 2 as we continue to wrap up the year 2020. Once again, this is your girl, Tina Carter Show. See you in part 2.